Hello children, I'm back with a new video with the further pages of the lesson. So let's have a quick revision of the previous class. In the previous system, Mandela had become our first black president of South Africa, and after the first and the second deputy president, he took the oath. So now nearly 140 members, in the sense the political leaders have participated in the inaugural function. The ceremony is going on in the amphitheater. So he started to address the gathering after his oath, and now he is going further. So a few minutes later, we all lifted our eyes in awe as a spectacular array of South African jets with the helicopters and the troops carriers roared in perfect formation over the Union building. So here, after a few minutes after the addressing of the gathering over there, so they just experienced the spectacular array. Array, it's nothing but an impression or a display or a colorful or it's very attractive. The phrase itself, it says that it's very attractive. Of what it is very attractive, that is the South African jets, the helicopters, the troop carriers, which rode in perfect, and they came up to the gathering over there and to pay the respects for Nelson Mandela. It was not only a display of the pinpoint precision and the military force, but a demonstration of the military's loyalty to democracy. So they have come to give up their respect for the free Africa, that is South Africa, and also to pay up their and show their loyalty towards the country and their devotion to a government that had been freely and fairly elected. So on to what type of government? That is a new government which is already formed by ANC, that is African National Congress. Then later, and they were fairly elected by the people of Africa. Only moments before, the highest generals of South African Defence Force. South African Defence Force, before the higher generals and the police, their chests decked with ribbons and medals from days gone by, saluted me and pledged their loyalty. So they're just paying up their tribute and a kind of a respect to the new president, that is Free Africa, independent South Africa. And he was very overwhelmed by seeing all these things, where the helicopters, the troop carriers, which is in front of him and roaring up with their respect. And even the high dignitaries, that is the highest defense force fellows, are just chesting out and debacking out with the ribbons and the medals, who have already got up for their bravery, and they are paying up the tribute to me, and they are pledging their loyalty. Not only it's a oathing ceremony for the president, but it is also for the military force also to pay up their loyalty. I was not unmindful of fact that not so many years before they would not have saluted but arrested me. So he just remembers the past memories, that these are the fellows who have come up for me for arresting me, and today the situation is totally changed, and the same fellows are just bedecked and they are up to their chest and they are paying their respects and their loyalty in front of me. Finally, a chevron of Impala jets felt a smoke trail of black, red, green, blue, and gold of new South African flag. So where the jets is just exhibiting their very chevron, it's a kind of a pattern V or a shape of a V. In that shape, they are just smoking up with a trail of red, black, green, blue, and gold. So which consists of a new South African flag. The day was symbolized for me by playing of our two national anthems and the vision of the whites singing Nuskoski Skilel, Africa. So that is one of the national anthem of Africa. So they have just witnessed the shape of V and the color of the flag of New South Africa with the help of the Impala jet. And then next they have sung the national anthem, which symbolizes me for playing up the two national anthems. One is the vision of the whites, and the other, the black, were singing of Die Stem, which would be the old anthem of the republic. So we can see the new version and the old version of the national anthem. And then, although that neither group knew the lyrics of the anthem, they once despised. So the gathering was not at all knowing the lyrics of the national anthem over there, but despised, it's nothing but had a very low opinion that what to be sung further and what would be the further of the words there. They would soon know the words by heart. So once if they come to the experience, or they hear once the song, they will be remembering the national anthem. On the day of the inauguration, I was overwhelmed with a sense of history. So as we all know that Nelson Mandela is now overwhelmed, and he is witnessing that full of respects and the loyalty and the devotions are shown up by the military force and even the local people of the South Africa. In the first decade of 20th century, a few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War was and before my own birth, the white-skinned peoples of South Africa patched up their differences and erected a system of racial discrimination against the dark-skinned peoples of their own land. So during that is after the bitter Anglo-Boer War. So before his birth, the people of whites, they started up to patch up their difference, in the sense the differentiation and the discrimination had started before the birth of Nelson Mandela. So and then the white people, they were ruling up their own country. So this was witnessed by Nelson Mandela himself. The structure they created formed the basis of one of the harshest, most inhuman societies the world has ever known. So they have witnessed a kind of an inhuman and the harshest and the very cruel nature of the whites, and where the people were very exorbitant, and they were witnessing some kind of cruelness what whites were giving the punishments for the black now. So this was lasted for 20 centuries, nearly for 20th century. And my own eighth decade as a man, that system had been. So he is witnessing himself from past 8 years. So and then how the people of the country of South Africa, they are just witnessing. So that is very unimaginable, where the people were treated very cruelly, and some of them have lost their life in the sense of punishment, and then later overturned forever and replaced by the one that recognized the rights and freedoms of all people, regardless of color of their skin. So here, the people were waiting for a chance to get rid of this supremacy and even the tortures given by them, and they were overturned forever and replaced by one of them, which recognized as the rights and freedoms for all the people. The people of Africa, they are just waiting for that somebody would take up this initiative and give up the freedom for them, and regardless of the color of the skin. So they doesn't want any orientation of the color of the skin, but they all needed is the unity and even some of a freedom to live happily and peacefully in the country. That day had come about. So he is addressing everybody, the sufferers who have, it may be his ancestors, it might be the other common people. He's just addressing everybody as my people over there. So as only the sufferers can imagine, and the people who have witnessed all these punishments and the cruelty of the whites given up for the blacks, so that would be experienceable by their own, and they know their what is the pain. And the sacrifices is totally unimaginable, where he calls upon all my people. The people whose suffering and the courage can never be counted or repaid. Those suffering and their courage will not be, and never ever can be counted and be repaid by anybody. Though we have got a freedom now, and now we will be experiencing the happiness, and what does the sacrifices will be getting? So nothing. But we cannot touch up the things what they have suffered, and it cannot be repaid at all. I felt that day, as I have on so many other days, that I was simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before me. So he just simplifies, and he can imagine himself, and can always sees up that what kind of difficulties has been already experienced by the people who was before him. So, and then that long and noble line ended and now began again with me. So that noble line, that is the sacrification line, has been ended up, and the new line segment of the freedom of South Africa has started now, that along with me. I was pained that I was not able to thank them, and that they were not able to see what their sacrifices have brought. So now, whatever the process of getting struggled, in the process of getting the freedom, has been done by the people before Nelson Mandela, so that cannot be paid back, or that cannot be thought back, and it would be countable. But what he is trying to tell is, now of course we have got a freedom now, but they are not existed to at least to convey a thanks for them, and they would not be able to witness the next freedom things which were all going on in the South African country. And then he says, the policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my country. So in the pages of history of Africa, the apartheid policy have been just got denoted in a very deepest and a very long lasting manner, where not only Mandela but the other common people for many years, unless the world is existed, the history also does exist, right? So on that thought, he says that we have a deep and a lasting wound of my country and of my people. All of us will spend many years, if not generations, recovering from that profound hurt. So many generations will come over, and everybody will experience this, whoever reads up the history of Africa. But we cannot convey thanks and gratitude, our gratitude for the fellows who have sacrificed their life for the sake of freedom of our country. But the decades of oppression and brutality had another unintended effect, and that was that it produced the Oliver Tambos, the Walter Sissulus, the Chief Lutilius, the Yusuf Dadus, the Bram Fishers, the Robert Subukwes of our time, the men of such extraordinary. But he is just experiencing the same fellows who have the same attitudes and the same thoughts and ideologies, where he has named up few of the fellows. I think you can better see up in your textbooks with the picture they have just given out. So equivalent to the sacrification and the patriotism was upheld by some of the fellows who have already named here. So let me get introduced with the picture of the fellows, and this fellow is Oliver Tambo and Walter Sisulu, Chief Lutili, that is Yusuf Dadu, Bram Fisher, Robert Subukwe. So these are the fellows, and you can see up the line over there. So there are the prominent names and the fellows who have fought for the struggle against the apartheid policy. For the use of the definite article with the proper nouns, so we have to check out the activity of this lessons. So these fellows are identified as a prominent and a very important name who was very successful, and they have given their tremendous effort in abolishing the policy of apartheid. So Nelson Mandela cannot do it in a individual manner, but where whatever the community or the group he had, so that group consisting of these people whom we have already read the names. So moving on to the next pages of the lesson, the courage, wisdom and the generosity that their like may never be known again. Perhaps it requires such depth of oppression to create such heights of character. So what he says is, whatever the heights of creating the character or the shadow which has already been left out by the fellows who have already led for abolishing the apartheid policy, because of all those things we can reach up the freedom now, and now we have achieved it. And what he is trying to tell out that by all these things they can really assume themselves, that is the depth of the oppression which has created up for the heights of the character. My country is rich in minerals and the gems that lie beneath its soil. Yes, Africa is very rich in minerals and they do have a precious gems too. So which says that is the deep in the soil. But I have always known that its greatest wealth is its people. So apart from all the mineral things and the gem oriented things, he considered people of Africa is itself the greatest wealth. See, a generous type of fellow he is, and the finer and the truer that the purest diamonds. The fellows who have already struggled up, and the fellows who are just having a kind of a patriotism even today, what they are experiencing now, the freedom, they are the true gems and the richest minerals, and they considered as one of the resource of the country, and they are compared to the purest form of diamonds. And moving on, it is from these comrades in the struggle that I have learned the meaning of courage. Comrades are the fellows who will be working with him or are joining him in the freedom struggle. That he had learned the meaning of the courage. What is courage? That has to be learned up by his comrades. And they set an example for the courage. Time and again, I have seen men and women risk and give their lives for an idea. Yes, what is an idea here? That is their freedom. So for that purpose, they have sacrificed their life. Not only our men, but even the women too. They have risked up their lives for the sake of the country. I have seen men stand up to attacks and torture without breaking, showing a strength and resilience that defies the imagination. So there are many situations that the men who stood up for the attack and the tortures given up by the whites, and without breaking themselves, they just showed up their strength and even the resilience also. Resilience, that's nothing but a kind of an ability which can be taken out for any kinds of hardships and which would be recovering from the effects what they are going on. They defies of the imagination. So there are many situations that they set an examples that they could not imagine the extent of the torture and the things which they have bared already. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear. So they just gave an conclusion without any words. But here the fellow who have understood their courage well and good, that is, one among them was Nelson Mandela. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear. So it's not the courage that in the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. So one has to come over the fear and defeat the fearness, that is uprightness. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid. A brave man should not feel afraid. He won't be a brave man, but one who will be able to conquer it, he will be a brave man. That is what he says, that but he who conquers that fear, he will be a brave man when only he conquers the fear. He says, no one is born hating another person. Nobody will be born by hating another person because of the color of the skin. The most important reason is they are black and they are white. And he is just telling out, nobody in the birth itself, from the birth itself, they will be hating another on the basis of the color of the skin or his background, or whether he belongs to a rich or poor family. No, nothing is considered, and even the religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. And he believes in a philosophy that a person or a fellow has to be taught to get hated, and then he will be knowing the value of a love, and then he will be taught of the love. For love comes more naturally to human heart than it opposites. So he says that the love which comes very naturally to the human hearts, and opposite of the version of the love is hatredness. Even in the grimmest times in the presence, when my comrades and I were pushed to our limits, I would see a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards. So he had a best example to be shared on. When he was in the prison for 30 years, he just saw a guard or the fellows and his comrades who were just witnessing the lots and lots of limits and just withstanding the tortures given up by the whites. So during that time, they showed so much of bravery things and a kind of a courage where they might get a freedom one day. So he just remembers that thing, and then perhaps just for a second, but it was enough to reassure me and keep me going. Man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. So the man's courage and the goodness of a man can be flamed, and it can be hidden up for a particular time of a period, but it cannot be extinguished. It cannot be abolished, but it can be kept quiet unless you reach up a limit of your patience. So that is what here it has happened. So they were very much patientful, and they were just tolerating all the things created up by the whites now. And he has shared few things what he has experienced in the prison. In life, every man has twin obligations. So he says that everybody has a twin obligations to his family, to his parents, to his wife and children. He has an obligation to his people, his community, his country. So he says that every man has a twin obligations. So obligations can be divided into two. That is, one is of his wife and children and family. The other is towards the people, the community, and towards the country. His personal life and the patriotism. So this is what is all about the twin obligations here. So that we have to understand. So I'll stop here, and I'll be continuing in my next video. So till by then, please do revise the things what we have discussed so far, and happy learning, children.